Joe Rogan recently made some bold comments about Jake Paul that have stirred up a lot of attention. Rogan didn't hold back when talking about Jake's decision to reject Andrew Tate's $3 million fight offer.
I don't have 50 million to bet with you, but I do have 3 million to bet with you. So this is your offer. $3 million. You put 3, I put 3, winner takes all.
He slammed Jake for avoiding real competition, calling it a huge mistake to turn down a fight with someone like Tate. This decision has sparked a lot of debate. Why would Jake, who's known for calling out big names in boxing, refuse to fight Tate? It's not the first time Jake has been criticized for choosing opponents who seem easier to beat. Even Floyd Mayweather has said Jake picks fights with people he thinks he can win against easily. But Rogan's view is different. He believes Jake is avoiding real challenges that could show he's a real fighter. By rejecting Tate, Jake might have made a choice that could hurt his boxing career. Why would Jake Paul, who says he's a boxer, back out of such a big fight? Rogan's opinion is clear. Jake isn't serious about becoming a real fighter. Instead of facing someone like Tate, who has years of fighting experience, Jake seems to prefer easy fights to protect his image. Rogan thinks Jake is afraid of losing to Tate, so he continues to pick opponents who aren't as tough. For Rogan, this decision shows Jake isn't ready to prove himself against the best. Stay tuned to Glove Goals for all the updates. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next in this explosive rivalry. This whole situation makes you wonder about Jake's future in boxing. Is he really trying to make a name for himself, or is he just pretending to be a fighter? Turning down the fight with Tate might have been a mistake that could hurt his career. Will Jake ever face a true challenge, or will he keep choosing easy fights to protect his image? Tate's challenge. Tate's $3 million fight offer, anytime, anywhere. Andrew Tate, a former world-class kickboxer, made a bold challenge to Jake Paul.
I don't have 50 million to bet with you, but I do have 3 million to bet with you. So this is your offer. $3 million. You put 3, I put 3, winner takes all.
He offered Jake a massive $3 million to fight him anywhere, anytime. Tate wasn't asking for a special location or any special rules, just a chance to fight. This was a real offer from a tough fighter with years of experience. For Jake, this was the opportunity to show the world that he could hang with a true fighter, someone who wasn't past their prime or just looking for a payday. But Jake turned it down. Instead of accepting the challenge, he refused to fight Tate. This wasn't just any fight, it was a chance to prove himself against a real, skilled fighter. By saying no, Jake missed a chance that could have made a big difference in his career. It was a huge opportunity, and rejecting it left people questioning why. Why would Jake turn down $3 million and a chance to fight someone like Tate? Jake's decision to turn down Tate's challenge is especially surprising given the fighters he has faced in the past. Many of Jake's previous opponents, like Nate Robinson, Ben Askren, and Tyron Woodley, weren't real threats to him. They were either too old, too out of shape, or not experienced enough to truly challenge him. Tate, on the other hand, is a skilled fighter who has fought some of the best. This would have been Jake's chance to prove he's a real boxer, but instead he chose to back out. By rejecting this fight, Jake isn't just avoiding a tough opponent. He's making a statement. Tate was offering a real challenge, something that could have tested Jake's skills and toughness.
I will fight you any day of the fucking week. Don't worry about Conor McGregor fucking you up. Don't worry about Floyd Mayweather fucking you up. You only want to lose to them so you can say, well, I lost to Conor McGregor. Why don't you lose to an old man who's retired? I live in the real fucking world, Jake. There's a whole bunch of fighters out here who live in the real fucking world. Men who are dangerous and dedicated their lives to this sport and don't have a fucking fraction of the money you have because you've managed to become a fucking clown. The biggest clown on the fucking internet. If you want to fight and you want to send a contract, send one to me. I will take a few weeks break from living my retired life to kick the living fuck out of a fucking goofy, fucking entitled dickhead like you. You know my name, Andrew Tate. Fucking Google it if you want to know more. Any day, anytime, let's fucking go.
But instead of stepping up, Jake turned it down. This decision says a lot about Jake's priorities. He's been accused of choosing easier fights where he can control the outcome, and turning down Tate only adds to that image. It raises doubts about Jake's true intentions in the sport and whether he's more interested in making money than proving he can handle real competition. What does this rejection mean for Jake's future in boxing? Jake's fight strategy: avoids tough competition, fights easy opponents. Jake Paul has made a name for himself by choosing opponents he knows he can beat. This isn't about challenging himself against the best, it's about avoiding tough fights. When you look at his past opponents, it's clear. Nate Robinson, a retired basketball player, Ben Askren, a retired MMA fighter. None of these were real boxers. They weren't the kind of people who would truly test Jake's skills in the ring. And now, with Andrew Tate challenging him, Jake has done what he always does, taken the safer option. Jake seems to pick opponents who aren't a real threat. Is he afraid of losing? The idea that Jake fears facing someone like Andrew Tate is hard to ignore. Tate isn't just a celebrity or retired athlete. He's a trained, dangerous fighter. For Jake, fighting Tate could risk his undefeated record and damage the image he's carefully built. Why take the chance of facing a real threat when you can keep winning by fighting people who aren't serious competition? Is Jake avoiding real challenges because he's scared to lose? Let's think about Jake's fight with Mike Tyson. Tyson is a legend, but he's 57 years old and hasn't fought in years. Jake chose to fight him instead of someone like Tate. This decision says a lot about Jake's approach. It's not about proving he's the best, it's about keeping his image intact. Tyson might have a big name, but he's not a real challenge. Tate, on the other hand, is younger, faster, and a much more dangerous fighter who could easily end Jake's undefeated streak. Jake's boxing career seems to be all about control, controlling who he fights, controlling the story, and controlling how people see him. He wants to be known as a fighter, but only on his terms. By picking opponents who aren't real threats, he can keep building his image as a fighter without ever truly stepping up. It's a smart strategy, but it also makes many wonder if Jake is really up for the big fights. Will Jake ever step up and face someone who could really test him? Joe Rogan's criticism. Rogan blasts Jake for avoiding real challenges. Joe Rogan didn't hold back when talking about Jake Paul's career. He says Jake has been avoiding real challenges, and it's becoming clear to everyone. Rogan points out that Jake has carefully picked fights that are low risk, choosing opponents who won't really give him a tough time. This has been his pattern from the start, fighting people who are either too old, out of shape, or not serious threats. Rogan doesn't think Jake is a real fighter. Instead, he believes Jake picks easy fights to protect his perfect record and avoid anyone who could actually beat him. Rogan calls out Jake's opponents, saying they just aren't legit. He's fought people like Nate Robinson, who didn't belong in the ring, and Ben Askren, who was already past his prime. These aren't real challenges. They're just people Jake can defeat easily. For Rogan, this is exactly why Jake isn't seen as a real fighter. His opponents lack the skill and reputation to make him look credible in the boxing world. It's obvious to anyone paying attention. Is Jake really the fighter he says he is, or just an entertainer? Then there's Andrew Tate. Rogan doesn't hold back here either. He believes Jake is avoiding Tate because he's scared. Tate is younger, faster, and a real fighter. He's trained and has the skills to actually challenge Jake. Unlike the older, less skilled fighters Jake has faced, Tate would put Jake to the test. Rogan says that Jake's decision to turn down the fight shows that he's afraid of someone who could truly beat him. Tate isn't someone who could be easily beaten or outclassed. He would make Jake prove himself in the ring. Joe Rogan makes it clear. Jake's career is all about choosing easy fights. If he keeps doing this, he'll never be taken seriously as a real fighter. The question is, will Jake ever be brave enough to face someone like Andrew Tate, or will he keep avoiding real challenges? Jake's fear of Tate. Jake fears Tate's skill and danger. Andrew Tate is no stranger to fighting. He's a former world champion kickboxer with years of real experience in the ring. Tate has faced some of the toughest fighters and come out on top, which makes him a serious threat to anyone, including Jake Paul. Tate is not someone who can be ignored or underestimated. His skills and years of experience make him a real challenge. Unlike the opponents Jake has faced, when Jake Paul turned down Tate's $3 million fight offer, Tate didn't give up. Instead, he kept calling Jake out, refusing to back down. Tate made it clear that he's ready to fight Jake at any time, anywhere. But this fight is more than just money for Tate. It's about proving who the real fighter is. Tate wants to show the world that he can face any challenge, and he's willing to fight Jake Paul to prove it. Why does Tate keep pushing for this fight? For Tate, it's not just about making money. It's about showing his strength and determination. He wants to prove that he's a true fighter, willing to take on anyone, no matter how tough they are. He's not interested in easy stage fights like the ones Jake has been choosing. Tate wants a real challenge that will test his skills to the limit. He's ready to fight, and he won't back down until Jake faces him in the ring. Stay tuned to Glove Goals for all the updates. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next in this explosive rivalry. Tate's confidence and toughness are what make him stand out. He's not looking for attention or an easy win. He's looking to show everyone that he's a fighter who can take on the best. As Tate continues to call out Jake, it's clear that he's serious about this challenge and determined to prove himself. The question now is whether Jake will step up to face Tate or if he'll keep avoiding the biggest challenge of his career. Jake's past fights. Easy wins over Robinson, Askren, Fury. Looking back at Jake Paul's boxing career, it's easy to see he's mostly been fighting people who weren't real threats. First, he fought Nate Robinson, a former basketball player, then Ben Askren, a retired MMA fighter with no real boxing skills. After that, he fought Tyron Woodley, another MMA fighter who was past his best, and finally Tommy Fury, who's known more for reality TV than his boxing skills. None of these opponents were serious threats compared to someone like Andrew Tate, who has a lot of experience in combat sports and is still in top shape. Jake's record might look good, but when you break it down, it's clear these fights were more about easy wins than real challenges. Jake's fight with Tommy Fury was a big moment for him. This was supposed to show he could handle a real boxer, but when he lost, it hurt his reputation. People who were still unsure about Jake started to doubt him. Losing to Fury, who isn't even one of the best boxers, made it clear that Jake isn't ready for tougher competition. It wasn't just a bad fight for Jake, it showed he's not yet the fighter he claims to be. Does Jake really have what it takes to face someone like Andrew Tate, or is he just looking for easy fights? Jake's pattern is clear. He picks fights that make him look good, but don't really test his skills. Every time he faces someone tougher, like Tommy Fury, things don't go well. His career looks more like he's trying to build a brand than prove he's a true boxer. The question now is whether Jake will step up and face someone who can really challenge him. If not, his time in boxing might be over before it even truly begins. Jake's false persona, image versus reluctance to face skilled fighters. Jake Paul has built an image as a tough fighter, always talking about taking on anyone, anywhere. His social media posts, videos, and trash talk make it seem like he's ready to fight at any moment. But when it comes to facing real skilled boxers, Jake has been hesitant. Instead, he's chosen to fight retired athletes or people from other sports, like Nate Robinson and Ben Askren. It looks more like he's trying to keep up the tough guy image rather than actually test himself in the ring. Boxing isn't just a sport, it's a story. Subscribe to Glove Goals and be part of the journey. Then there's the gotcha hat incident. When Jake snatched Floyd Mayweather's hat at a press conference, it caused a lot of drama. Some people thought it was just for show, but others started questioning Jake's maturity and professionalism. To many, it made him look more like a kid trying to get attention than a serious fighter. This only made people doubt his commitment to boxing and whether he's really serious about the sport. Does Jake Paul really want to fight, or is he just putting on a show for the cameras? Because of all this, more and more fans and boxing experts see Jake as a spectacle, not a real fighter. Sure, he knows how to entertain and get people excited, but that doesn't make him a serious contender in boxing. While he may be good at selling fights, the big question is, can he prove himself against true fighters, or is he just pretending to be one? Avoiding real competition. Jake's avoidance harms his reputation. Jake Paul's refusal to fight Andrew Tate is more than just a missed opportunity. It shows that Jake isn't ready to face real challenges. Tate, with his experience in fighting, is a true test for Jake. Turning down that fight only makes people think Jake is scared to risk it all in the ring. By rejecting this big fight, Jake is proving he's not serious about showing he can fight at the highest level. By avoiding Tate, Jake keeps choosing fights that are easier and safer. He picks opponents who are either past their prime or aren't a real challenge. These safe fights let Jake keep his undefeated record, but it also shows he's scared of losing. If Jake really wants to be seen as a true boxer, he needs to stop avoiding tough opponents and take real risks. Boxing is about testing your limits, not just protecting your image. Will Jake ever face a true threat in the ring? Floyd Mayweather has said that Jake's approach to boxing is more about entertainment than real competition. Floyd made his name by fighting the best, risking everything to prove himself. Jake's refusal to face real threats shows the difference between the two. If Jake wants to be remembered as a real fighter, he needs to stop hiding behind safe fights and prove he can take on the toughest challenges. Public backlash. Fans called Jake a coward on social media. Jake Paul's decision to avoid Andrew Tate has sparked a huge reaction from fans and social media users. People are upset and calling him out for refusing to face a real challenge. Jake has spent years building his image as a fighter, but when the chance came to fight someone with real experience, he backed out. This has damaged his credibility and angered a lot of fans who were hoping to see him prove himself. Instead of taking on Tate, he chose to avoid the fight, and now his reputation is in question. Social media is buzzing with criticism. Memes are popping up all over the internet, making fun of Jake for turning down the fight. Fans are calling him a fraud and wondering if he was ever serious about boxing. Experts are saying that Jake isn't really a fighter if he avoids challenges like this. They argue that real fighters face tough opponents, not just ones who are easy to beat. Jake is being painted as someone who's more interested in the spotlight than improving his skills in the ring. Can Jake fix his image after this? Andrew Tate isn't letting Jake off the hook. He's taken to social media to attack Jake, calling him scared and unwilling to face real competition. Tate has been relentless, using every opportunity to mock Jake for avoiding the fight. He continues to call out Jake, saying that Jake is all talk and no action. It's clear Tate is enjoying this moment and isn't stopping anytime soon. The back and forth on social media is heating up, and it looks like Jake is trapped in a battle he can't easily escape. Jake's boxing influence, more spectacle than serious fighter. Jake Paul has definitely brought a lot of attention to boxing, but the big question is, at what cost? While his flashy antics, trash talk, and attention-grabbing stunts attract millions of fans, many people in the boxing world see him as more of a showman than a real fighter. He's been able to bring in new fans, especially from younger generations, but his approach has faced a lot of criticism. Real boxing fans don't take Jake's fights seriously. Instead, they see them as events meant for entertainment, rather than a true test of boxing skills. This gap between spectacle and real skill is where Jake's impact becomes a problem. His fights bring in huge numbers of viewers and lots of buzz on social media, but most people in boxing don't respect him as a true contender. Instead of working his way through tough opponents, Jake seems more focused on using boxing to build his brand and make money. The question now is, can Jake ever earn real respect from the boxing world if he keeps choosing easy fights instead of facing true competition? Can Jake Paul ever earn respect in boxing if he keeps avoiding real challenges? Jake's role in boxing shows how the sport has changed. It's not just about fighting anymore, it's about building a name. While Jake's influence has created big moments in the media, it's also left many questioning the sport's integrity. Real fighters want respect from their peers and from the crowd. But Jake is playing a different game, one that doesn't seem to follow the traditional rules of boxing. Future in boxing. Jake's career depends on fighting real opponents. Jake Paul's future in boxing depends on the choices he makes now. If he keeps avoiding real challenges, the consequences could be serious. Fans are already questioning his dedication to the sport, and experts are losing patience. By rejecting fights against real competitors like Andrew Tate, Jake risks being seen as someone who brought attention to boxing but never proved himself as a true fighter. In boxing, respect is earned by facing tough opponents and putting everything on the line. Jake's current approach might bring him money and attention, but it won't earn him the respect of legends or loyal fans. If he continues to pick easy fights, his image will take more damage. Eventually, people will lose interest, and his boxing career could fade into the background. How long can Jake keep this up before people stop watching? The big question is whether Jake will step up and fight real competition. Facing someone like Andrew Tate could change the way people see him and silence the doubters. But if Jake keeps avoiding serious fights, he might find himself without fans or worthy opponents. Jake has always been good at creating a buzz, but will he let his actions in the ring speak louder than his words? His next move could change everything. Conclusion: Jake's career at risk without real challenges. Jake Paul's reputation as a fighter is on shaky ground. By rejecting Andrew Tate's challenge, he didn't just pass on a fight, he passed on a chance to prove himself. This decision has hurt his image, leaving fans questioning if Jake truly wants to be a serious boxer or if he's just protecting his brand. His status as a fighter now faces serious doubts. Joe Rogan and Floyd Mayweather's criticism has made things worse. Rogan pointed out Jake's fear of facing real challenges, and Mayweather called out his habit of picking safe fights. Together, their words have made Jake look more like a showman than a real competitor. This isn't just about skipping one fight, it's about whether Jake can build a lasting legacy in boxing. Will Jake ever take the risks needed to earn real respect? If Jake wants to be remembered as more than just an entertainer, he has to start facing real opponents. Carefully choosing fights to protect his image might work for now, but it won't earn him lasting respect in the sport. The boxing world is waiting for him to prove himself through action, not just talk. Jake's next move will define his future. He has a choice: step up and face true competition, or fade into being just another name in the boxing world. Only he can decide what kind of fighter he wants to be.